Welcome to the Show Me the Way podcast. I am your host, Andrea Miller, and I'm so excited to bring this show to you. Show Me the Way is a podcast dedicated to exploring the journeys of those who have faced adversity and found themselves on unexpected paths. We will have meaningful, thoughtful conversations about challenges we have faced and how we discovered and forged new direction. Prepare to be inspired and to uncover your own strength as you listen to relatable and motivating stories. Life has a way of twisting and turning, and we often need a fresh perspective to understand how to navigate. Let's show each other the way. Welcome back to the Show Me the Way podcast. Today, for the second week in a row, you're going to hear from me, the host, Andrea Miller. Rather than an amazing guest like I usually have, I'm going to do another reflection episode. So the question is, what do you do when you thought you'd have a guest, but last minute it fell through? You step in and you share your own thoughts once again. And you know, I love to talk. So hopefully you find this enjoyable, maybe not as riveting as if there were a few other people on with me, but we'll take it. We will take it. I have 6 guests in the pipeline, but they're not scheduled until next week or after. So I do look forward to sharing a lot more episodes with you with amazing guests, like I've said, people that you've heard from before, maybe people that I've never met, people that have been referred to me for this podcast. So look forward to that in the next few weeks. But here we go again on my thoughts. Well, last week I talked about change in August and all the things that are going on. So I'm sure there's more things that we can talk about today. And I also want to highlight a couple of episodes. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. I want to talk about Jennifer Minchin's episode, which was number 39, and Carol Waldman, which was episode number 45. Those are two that I'm going to highlight today. And, you know, both of them speak on doing hard things and finding new paths. And that's been a big thing for me with this show, being able to share with others that people go through adversity and they go through hard times in life. And often they have to figure out a new path. And so I loved how both women focused on those two things. So we'll definitely reflect on those episodes. Last week, I talked about August being the month of change. I'm still thinking that we're dealing with a lot of change, especially right now, definitely within my family, and I'm sure with yours as well, as the fall approaches quicker than I think many of us would like. But as we all know, nothing ever stays the same. There's always change going on. And that's why we have this whole podcast going. So I've got a couple of people also besides Carol and Jennifer that I wanted to highlight. So we're going to do that. I'm going to talk about those episodes, and then I'm just going to let you kind of reflect. And I'm also going to let you look forward to the next episodes, which will definitely include guests. So you may recall my very first guest on the podcast was Amy Faba. She's a dear friend of mine. I met her when her twins and my older son were in first grade. We went to the zoo for an outing, and I was able to take off work and be a chaperone. And of course, I didn't know anyone. I didn't know any of the moms. I hadn't lived in our city for too long, but I really wanted to be there for Nick. So I signed up to be a chaperone. And fortunately, the teacher said, well, there's somebody named Amy that is going to drive. Would you like to ride with her? Sure. Count me in. I love having that set up so you don't have to worry about how to get there and parking and all of that. So I was open to it. We just started chatting, and I just knew she was going to be this friend for life. Like, it's all history after that. We are now part of a larger group that I just really call my village. Most of the moms have children the same age as my older son. So we went through the first college experiences together. Some of them teach at the school where my kids went for elementary, and they're just always there. They're huge supporters. They help with the Nathan Ninja golf outing and the family fun run, and they're always there supporting anytime I need anything. I mean, geez, Amy picked me up on the side of the road when I had a car breakdown. I mean, there's not anything that these women wouldn't do. Some of the women don't have children to the age of my college age son, but they still go through a lot of what we all have gone through or continue to go through. So we have so much in common, and we're all there for each other. We don't live too far from one another, and anything I need, I can reach out to any of them. And it's just been such a blessing. So Amy's definitely one of them. You know that if you listened to the episode. And if you didn't, go back to season 1. It's the very first interview that I did. Episode 1 was just me. Episode 2 was Amy. And she spoke at the time, now this was 2 years ago almost, she spoke about her dream job. And the dream job was working for a credit union, but the dream part of it was the fact that she got to work with students and work with children. That's what she loves to do. She's so great with kids. And she got to educate them on keeping up with their financials and using a credit union and saving money and all of that as part of the school credit union program that they had going on. And she did it in many of the schools in our community. She brought it to the elementary school that all of our kids went to. And she loved it. It was like the best part of her day, getting to see these kids and getting to teach them. It just was a huge joy for her. She had background in preschool teaching, and she just really always loved being around kids. Well, it was her dream job, but toward the end of it, the part that brought her the most joy was not available anymore. They had stopped doing a lot of it because of COVID. She wasn't in all the schools that she was in before. And it was very difficult for her. The whole direction of the program changed, her management changed, and she had a really hard time with it. So she eventually left that position. Well, she and her husband both knew that they appreciated her having a job and them having two incomes. So she knew she needed to do something. And so she ended up finding an opportunity within the elementary school where many of our friends were. And she was a parapro and she did great. It was an awesome experience for her. She got to work with teachers that she loved. She got to work with children again, find that joy that she had been missing because she was no longer working with that credit union program. So it was a really, really good fit. But she ended up having some concerns with her family. Her father was ill, and her mother and father lived pretty far away from her house. So she needed to take a leave. She knew that her family, her dad was more important than anything else. So she knew that she needed to make a change, and she told the school, hey, here's what's happening. And so they allowed her, obviously, to take her leave and to be gone. But when she came back, there was no guarantee that the position that she held before was still open. She was pretty upset about that. She didn't really understand how she was going to adjust and what she was going to do. And she was very concerned. She ended up getting another position within the school. And it was good. It wasn't the perfect fit that it was before, but she ended up staying within the school. And the reason I'm bringing all of this up is because I asked her yesterday if she would be a guest again. And she said she would be open to that. And I really want her to talk about change because she got that other position, worked within the school, but then determined. Now, keep in mind, she is not fresh out of college anymore. She has grown children. She's been married for quite some time. She's in her midlife. And she has decided, you know what? I love working in the school so much. I don't want to fall into a position where I am unable to prove my worth or maybe hold on to the role that I really want to have. I'm going to go back and get my teaching certificate. So she did that and she finished all of the requirements that she needed to finish. And she was able to apply for an interview just yesterday for a full time teaching position rather than a parapro or an assistant, a full time teaching position within the community. So it won't necessarily be the school that she's comfortable working at, but there's many other schools within the community that she would be wonderful at as well. And so she's taking everything she's learned, everything that she loves about working, and decided I'm going to go back and get my teaching certificate. And I think it takes so much courage because it's easy to say, you know what, I am getting too old. I don't need to go do that. But it really takes determination and bravery to do what she did. And I'm so excited for her. And even if this interview doesn't work out, she has her certificate. She can go on to other programs, other schools, other communities, and find where she fits best. And so it's just proof that sometimes we do have to go through difficult change, but sometimes we really see the light on the other side. So I'm excited to talk with her again. She said she would be open to it. I do love having new guests, but it's great to bring back guests as well. And so I can't wait for her to share that with us, just to remind us all that change is always happening and it's okay to take it on. And that leads me to my sister, Nikki, who has been staying with me since July 21st, so a few weeks now, almost a month. She has been here because, as you know, as you remember me speaking about, my niece, her daughter, was pregnant and just had a baby last Monday. And she wanted to stay with us just in case the baby came early. Many of you know she lives in Florida and I live in Michigan. So she didn't want it to be like a last minute, have to hop on a flight and be late for the whole thing situation. And you never know. Many people will say, "Oh, your first baby won't be early," but my both of my babies were 5 days early, so you never know. It worked out that she was here. She got to spend a lot of time with her daughter before the birth, and I got to spend a lot of time with her, and it was really nice. It's been so nice to have her with us. I love when she stays with me. I'm very close to my sisters, and it's just so fun to have her there every day. I really do enjoy it. So I bring her up because, well, first I asked her to be a guest, but I don't know if she's comfortable yet. My other sister has been on. Nikki's been on, but she was on with my mom, my mother in law, and my other sister. So I don't know that she's ready to be a solo guest. And I don't like to pressure anybody to be guests on the show. Some people are more comfortable talking than others. So I get it. Someday I will get her on the show because she has so many things to speak on, many stories, and a lot of great insight. So we will do that. But she wasn't quite ready. So I thought, well, I'll talk about her anyway. And I've told you before, if you've listened, that she's a labor and delivery nurse, which worked out really well for my niece because she was in the room with her the whole time and helped her from a mom perspective, but also from a nurse perspective. So that would be something really cool to hear my sister talk about, but eventually we'll do that. So she was a labor and delivery nurse for a very long time, almost 20 or over 20 years. She's so good at what she does. She is just such a great nurse and beautiful heart and just so comforting to the moms and so good with the babies. I call her a baby whisperer, the way she holds them and rocks them to sleep. And she's just so great with them. Well, as many people would probably say, especially in a high stress job like that, she got a little burnout. She was doing some travel nursing, which was nice because you really do get that extra pay for taking on that challenge of travel. But she started dating someone in Florida, and it was very hard to leave the Florida area where she would have to travel because she was no longer just thinking about herself and her own needs. She was now like, oh, what about this person I'm dating? About his needs? What about us being together? That kind of thing. So she no longer does the travel nurse thing. She kind of got out of that. Not to say that she couldn't do that at any time, but just kind of thought to herself, that's not the best situation for me. Plus, she wants to be available for this baby. So, travel maybe to California or to Maine or to Tennessee is not the preferred situation. So she hasn't really looked for those positions and she has determined she really doesn't want to work in the hospital. So she said, "What else can I do?" And lo and behold, she decided to become a realtor just like me. And I think I brought that up last week. And again, just like Amy, proving that it doesn't matter how old you are or what you've been doing, you can always make a change. Change is inevitable, change is always there, it's constant. And she wasn't afraid to jump in to take on this very, very difficult Florida licensure testing and classes and all of that. It seems a little more complicated than what I remember going through when I was becoming a realtor 10 years ago, but of course it was in Michigan, so I don't know how different the laws are. But she had to take more hours of education than I had to take. And she took a very difficult exam that she was extremely concerned about. She did not think she was going to pass it the first time. Many people don't. So it's not like it would have been the end of the world, but she really wanted to pass it. And she had a few little blips with she had to get her fingerprints done, and there were some issues with that, but she finally got it all done just before she came to Michigan and she took the exam and she passed it the first time. I was so very proud of her. Of course, she was extremely happy. And now she's a realtor and she can start selling houses in Florida. So now, just like me, she's created a pretty flexible situation for herself. Now, granted, it's not easy to be a realtor. She has to create a pipeline. She has to take all of her courses. She needs to make sure that she understands how to use the systems. She started working with a great broker and has a mentor already. So has learned quite a few things. But yeah, she's excited to get started with that. She's been very baby focused recently, but she'll be headed back to Florida next week and she'll start her real estate career. So that's what's going on with her. And again, just proving to us that it doesn't matter your age, it doesn't matter where you're at in life. If something new comes up and you want to try it, there's nothing that should stop you. So I really wanted to highlight that as well. Again, just proving to us change is everywhere. And finally, along those lines, I want to talk about my friend Alicia. Now, she was a guest in season two. You'll have to go back and find Alicia Schweitzer's episode. Her main focus was more about her son, which I have brought up a few times, who's got a lot of medical complexities, and she really focused on how she has dealt with that over the years. She has three children and he is the youngest. He is 11. So it was a great episode to kind of understand how moms advocate for themselves and their children, and how we just do whatever we need to do, especially when it comes to our children. So that was the focus, but she has so many other things that she could speak on. And right now, which I will probably ask her to come back when she does have time, she has zero time right now. I don't even think she has time to brush her hair in the morning sometimes. So I won't be pressuring her to be on the show anytime soon, but eventually I will bring her back. And it's the same idea. So she's a little younger than Amy and Nikki and myself. So it's a little bit different, but also just highlighting that you can be in one situation and then things can change. So, not focused on her children, more focused on her. She decided, well, years ago, I'm going to go back to school to be a nurse. When she was younger, she thought that's maybe the direction she was going to take. But, she got married, she had kids, a lot of things changed. And she ended up pursuing beauty school, and she was certified and licensed to do hair. And she's really, really talented, great with color, great with cuts, very personable. So the whole hairdresser thing fit really nicely with her and her personality and how she liked to work. It worked with her schedule with three boys because she could be flexible with it. There was a time she worked at a salon 5 minutes away from her house. So that was perfect. But over the years, she got burnt out doing that as well. And not that she doesn't love serving, not that she doesn't do a great job with hair, but having these different schedules and working in the evenings and working at night and not having a strict schedule, that eventually became a little difficult for her. And she just had it in her mind, I want to make my own money. I want to have a career outside of hairdressing. I want to really be able to go and use my strengths and my smarts. I know that I want to do more than this. And again, nothing wrong with being a hairdresser. She is awesome at it. She could have kept doing it. But for her, she wanted to make a change. She wanted to make more money than she had been making and make a significant difference to her family and for herself and for her kids, her husband. So she decided, you know what? I'm going to go back to school. I'm going to become a nurse. I'm going to go pursue what I wanted to many, many years ago. And, you get into school, you get into classes like that, and you've got a lot of young people, a lot of people that just graduated high school. They're starting their nursing program, or maybe they went to college for a few years and then got into the nursing program. So many of them, not all, but many of them were slightly younger than her and maybe didn't have the same responsibilities. Again, nothing wrong with the time that you go to school, or if you're young, or if you're a little bit older or whatever, but not all of them had three children, especially a medically complex child at home. And not many of them were taking care of a household, a dog, a husband, making sure laundry's done in the house is clean, cooking food, making sure everyone's staying healthy and getting to all of their appointments, and they're able to get to all of their sports games and practices and all of that. But she said, you know what? It'll happen. It'll work. My family will work with me, and I am going to become a nurse. So, for the last couple of years, she's been going through a very intense program. She goes to school not too far from her house, but enough where if she's got classes or if she has clinical, she's gone for the day. And her husband and her children really need to step up and figure things out sometimes without her there. Now, I have reminded her that she really hasn't stopped. She has really shown her whole family that she's still going to keep up with all of the things that she's kept up with before. I think she's a superwoman. I like many moms. I think maybe there's a little robot in her because for some reason she still gets everything accomplished even though she's in this very intense program. She will be graduating in October, and I couldn't be more proud of her. Now, I mentioned how having the schedule, working nights and weekends was kind of tough with the hairdressing. That can definitely happen as a nurse, obviously, if you work in the hospital as well. But she probably isn't going to jump right into the hospital. She has she already has an offer within the school district, and she really enjoys, just like Amy, working with children. So it probably will be a really good fit for her, and that's most likely the direction she's going to go in. But again, all three of these women just show us that it's never too late to try something new, to have courage, to be brave, step out of your comfort zone and say, guess what? Here's what I'm going to do now. And I bring all of this up. I'll try to circle it back. I bring all of this up just to prove and show that every single person has a story to tell. I actually was talking to my dad about being a potential guest because he and my mom are staying with us right now as well. They definitely wanted to come in to see the baby, and usually they do stay with us over the summer. The last few years they've done that. And my dad was just saying that he would be boring. There's nothing that he could talk about. But I guarantee after being on this life or being on this planet for 74 years like he has, there is much to share. And sometimes it's completely changing your job or your career path at a late time in life. And that's what these three women did. They decided, I'm not just going to sit back. I want to make money. I want to try this new adventure. I want to use my strengths in a different way. I want to go back to school. I want to challenge myself. And it's just the epitome of the podcast. It's the reason that I started this podcast. We all go through change. Sometimes it's major adversity. Sometimes it's dealing with children's or your own diagnosis. So it's medically related. Sometimes it's financially related. Sometimes it's moving to different states or dealing with grief or dealing with infertility issues or anything. But we all have a story to share, and we all have a time in our life where we have decided, or it was decided for us, that we needed to turn left instead of right, or we needed to pivot, or something needed to change. And it's really amazing to hear people tell these stories. And for me, every single day is something new. As you know, I've been whining quite a bit that my younger son, Nathan, the reason I started this podcast, is going to be starting high school senior year at the end of this month. And actually, today we are going to college visit, his first college visit, and things just keep on moving forward. He has not stayed 5 years old, even though I prayed for that many, many times. And I asked him to stay 5 years old. He has grown. He has really shown me amazing things throughout his life. He started out walking. He's in a wheelchair now full time, as you know. And it just keeps on going. Change keeps on happening. And it's a lot. It's a lot for this mother for sure. It's a lot for all of us as moms and parents and dads and friends and coworkers. There's always, always, always change. So yeah, I know it's a little difficult sometimes maybe to listen to me just speak. Many of you know I could talk for hours. I could go on and on. I always have thoughts. I always have something to share. But many of you have thoughts and you have things to share as well. So if you're listening to this and you're thinking, I just went through a change, I really want to talk about it, I would love to have you as a guest. I have been so blessed with the people that have been open to sharing stories. I know it's much better to listen to them than it is to listen to me. But, a reflection episode every once in a while is pretty good too. And before I fall off or before I end off, I want to go back to those two episodes I talked about. So, yes, you can go listen to Amy if you listen to the very first interview I had in season one. You can go back and listen to Alicia. Someday I will have my sister Nikki on. But if you look at more recent episodes 39 and 45 with Jennifer Minchin and Carol Waldman, again, they both talk about doing hard things and finding their new paths. So, this is a good opportunity for you to go listen and be inspired and get advice and understand how faith helped Jennifer get through major change with her family and through divorce and through new roles, and how Carol just determined, you know what, I'm going to be an advocate for my family and I don't care what it looks like. I'm just going to keep going and I'm going to follow this path and do what needs to be done for my children. And that's what she did. And she's continuing to be an advocate to this day. So these are very important and awesome reminders and pieces of perspective for us to take on. And I would love for you to go back and listen to those two episodes and then just think to yourself, what have I gone through that I would like to talk about? And then reach out to me because it would be great to have you on the episode. I also started a uh, Substack subscription. So this is a new platform that I recently found through a friend, through my one and only guest that was on, no, through Brenda Mara, who was a guest a couple of different times. She talked about that for her podcast. And so it's a newsletter type platform. I have all of my guests in there. But if you are a listener or a potential guest and you're thinking, I want to be the first to know about these new episodes or to learn more about the Show Me the Way podcast, I would love to add you to this weekly newsletter. So there's many things you can do to get connected with the Show Me the Way podcast. I would love for you to reach out and share your story. I would love for you to listen to other stories and then give me your feedback. And then also join the Substack community to be the first to know of new episodes and to hear about updates with Show Me the Way. Thank you so much for being here and listening and always following, even if it's just me sharing my thoughts on previous episodes or on change or on life. And you can find me on Instagram. The Show Me the Way podcast has a site there, has a page there, as well as Andrea Fusco Miller. I have my site there. I have my page there and also on Facebook. Or you can go to andreamiller.co to find every single episode for the last 2 years. We're almost done with 2 full seasons. And you can tell me what you think there as well. There's places to leave reviews there. If you're listening and you're ready to share your story, I'd love to talk to you. If you're listening and you can think about 3 or 4 friends of yours that you think would be great on the show, please connect us or share it with them because I would love for them to be on here as well. Thank you again. I hope that you have a great week. And guess what? Next week, we will have a guest on the show.
Thank you for joining me for the Show Me the Way podcast. I truly appreciate you tuning in to today's episode about overcoming adversity and finding your path. I hope it brought you new insights, empowered you with perspective, and inspired you to find joy in your journey. If this episode touched your heart, don't forget to leave a quick review as it will help us reach and motivate more people. Until next time, keep seeking the light and showing the way.